I remember days they used to laugh at me. Used to show them on my records talking casually. Used to say it was a passion on my path to be. Then they told me that I couldn't, so I had to be. Tell me what they really think about it now. Used to hate it, but I guarantee they're proud. Had to do it just to show them that I could, yeah. Now I finally think I took it where I should, yeah. Had jokes on you and now you're on and laughing. I did a whole lot of winning. Look, it came from a passion. I see a whole lot of knowings. I could see now in public and that may think a lot of things. Man, at least think something, now you the judge. Hey, now tell me where you ended up. Yeah. Look, I bet it was a simple job. Yeah. Look, I went and took a different route. Yeah. Look, that's why my life is different now. Back in my feelings, look, when I wasn't so gifted and I was learning to do this, and all I heard were the critics, and I don't blame you for that shit. Look, I was way out the basis, but I just needed some talent so I could wait this to greatness. Oh yeah, you ain't ever think this, no, no, no. Stop me while I started, homie, whoa, whoa. Now this shit settled, it's go better and better. But I'll always remember, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to That One Podcast. It's the Tampa Takeover. We're here. It's your boy C-Roc and Kinz. Shout out to my guy Jet here at Evotion Studios. Killing it. Just killing it for us. We've been shooting episodes all week. And I'm not going to tell you what time of day it is right now. I'll let you guess. I'm here with Kinz. What's up, Ken?
What's up? I'm losing my voice. But that's because we're having so much fun with the Tampa Takeover.
Yeah.
And we are thrilled about our guests this evening. I give it
Oh, yeah. Listen, guys, we have the Lollis in the building. From biohackyourself.com, many other things they're doing. Shield is a documentary they're shooting right now this week. That's why we came down. And they are responsible for us meeting Jet at this studio here where we're collabing. And we're going to do a lot of other amazing things together. Lollis, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Show, guys.
I mean, have you ever met a better dressed couple? Seriously.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
we are coming from set.
You look fantastic.
well, they're coming from set, but yesterday we were going to possibly do it yesterday, and Teresa was telling Anthony, like, you want to switch outfits? And he's like, no, we dressed to impress.
Yeah, thanks, right?
Yeah. All right, guys. So I just watched the, I don't know if it's considered a documentary or a biography that you sent me the other day.
It was a little bio that I did like almost 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent me that yesterday. I watched it while I was back at the hotel, and I'm like, man, this aligns so much with what I've done in the mortgage industry and real estate. And I could feel the emotions coming out of me as I was watching it. But you made some amazing moves in real estate, and you kept learning as you went along. So I want to really start with, how did you get into real estate in the first place? Like, why did you get your real estate license?
Oh, I was from Brooklyn and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had tried many different things. I was in the alarm business with my cousin. I was going to college, community college. And I saw a friend of mine's father who was kind of like a lazy guy. He got his real estate license and started making money. And I said, man, if he could do it, I could do it. Because this guy is lazy. My whole life I knew him. I was like, man, he could do it, I could do it. So I started exploring getting my real estate license. At that time, it was pretty cheap, $150, 1 week. The barrier of entry was low, required your personality and your wherewithal to try to do it. So I went, and when I was taking the real estate course, I was always skeptical. I'm like, I'm not sure. The instructor was raving about how you could make millions, you could do this. So I raised my hand and said, excuse me, sir, why aren't you doing that if that's how much you can make? And he says, I'll talk to you after class. And I said, I'll be waiting. After class came, he said, Anthony, I own this real estate school, and you paid $150, and so did everybody else, and I have classes 52 weeks out of the year. He was making about $2 million a year in the real estate industry.
Wait a minute, but how did you figure that out? There's a phrase, it's something, what kind of math is it?
Oh, it was called the lolly math. I was doing lolly math at the time. And I was counting.
Break down lolly
That's right. And so I said, okay, sir, I had a lot of respect for him then. I was like, I'm going to listen to you because there's money in this industry. And then, but I said, one day I'm going to start my own real estate school. So I got the real estate license and then hustled my way to eventually starting my own company, buying my first property, recruiting my friends and family, then turning that company into a franchise, then a national franchise. And then that brought us into media and news. I had a viral story about 100 people getting a tattoo of my company logo on their bodies. So many things happen, and, so many beautiful things. I got a chance to meet her as an indirect result of that franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody sees it from the outside.
Yeah.
And they think everything's all lolly, right?
Yeah.
Right? Rosy. But they don't see the behind the scenes. And I saw in that video some some of the tough things that you had to deal with. What is your philosophy on overcoming setbacks?
You know, setbacks are a good way to know you're heading in the right direction. In that particular storyline of my life, I had built such a great company with a great educational platform that the people were capped at a certain amount of income they could make. And so when you are a successful business owner, you start trying to incorporate lifestyle things, a nicer car, a nicer home. And so people don't identify with the work, they identify with the nice things. And so they're like, oh, how do I get those nice things? I have to be the owner of this company or my own company. So I started breeding my own competition. So I didn't have the outlet to provide people a way for them to kind of grow with me. And so people were leaving me left and right. And that was actually causing chaos because I would train them so well, they would leave and do business in my own backyard with the clients that I,
Steal your people.
steal your people. And when you become a founder, you now are on the top. So therefore your intimacy and relationships are not as tight as, let's say, a salesperson who's hungry, who's going to that owner's house, who's going to that dinner, who's picking up the phone calls every day. So they have more rapport with the young gunner coming in. And so I realized I needed to create a system so that I could breed family members. And franchising was one particular route that resolved that issue. So it's always not what the problem is what's the solution.
Yeah.
What's the solution? I love that. And we're all about balance, as I know you are too. So being at the top of your game, juggling family life, everyone pulling at you in all directions. How do you guys find your zen and still connect as a couple and really thrive as humans as well as professionally?
That's a you question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And we have to constantly find new ways of finding that balance because we are growing very fast in every direction. And we love dabbling into new endeavors. So every time we do something, we do it to the max. And that max brings a host of challenges and beautiful rewards. So every time we have to find new ways of balancing. So it's a lot of communication. Homeschooling helps because we're actually able to travel with our children. So that's not something that's holding us back. Because if the kids were in school, I would be held back.
Sure.
And so he would be doing things alone. There would be no balance, right? We would be doing things separate.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we set forth between the two of us was no matter what we're doing, we're going to do it together because this life is about having it all. And having it all means doing things together as a family for us. That's what, and so we're very committed to making that work.
And you know, someone always has your back.
Yes.
It's beautiful. And you can feel that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Teresa, you came from Armenia, right? How long ago?
16 years ago.
Okay. Why did you come to the US? What was the catalyst for that?
Yeah, better opportunities. I kind of met all my benchmarks in Armenia. Grew up super poor, but very ambitious. Went to an incredible high school, the physics and math, the #1 high school, graduated that, went to economic department with full scholarship, was volunteering for the UN, was being, picked up to travel to Georgia, to travel to Ukraine. So I was always a go-getter. And at one point I realized, okay, what am I going to do when I graduate? My pathway was going to be some sort of a banking job or an office job. And I had cousins that were doing that. So I kind of visited them and saw their lifestyle. And I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to go for something better. My older sister, Tatev, inspired me to come to the US because she came here for tourism purposes. And she's like, America is great. And she came back with a bunch of, new glasses, new cool material things that at that time, I was like, wow, this is cool. You could be so independent. We both strived for independence. We were teaching dance classes to second graders. I was 14 years old when I was making money on my own. So yeah, it was an opportunity.
Gotcha. And then did she say, talk about the guys that were there too? In America?
Not really. We were just very ambitious. Yeah. No, to be honest, we grew up very, very, very strict in a very strict home. Even short skirts weren't allowed. My father was very much, putting this kind of discipline where a woman is respected, that kind of very Armenian old school mentality. So it was not guys that drove our interest to America. It was success.
Success. And so what did you think when you laid eyes on him? for the first time.
It's really
Was it
Did
instant?
did it have the Guido cut? Like,
Yeah, it was funny because she graduated top of her class, summa cum laude,
here in the US. When I
US.
came here. Yeah.
Got offers to be an auditor for Deloitte and Touche and
One of the
the
big
other big four. She turned that down because she wanted to pursue a career in acting, which she did. She got in Netflix movies, television commercials,
Yeah.
many different things. And so that was her path. And then she decided to get into the music industry.
Because I was being typecast for roles that were against my morale. So I was like, yeah, it's not going to work out. I'm going to sing because with singing, I can control what music I'm going to put out. So I was actually, I was hosting a casting at the Sheraton Hotel lobby where there was a Starbucks because one of my violinists, I had an all-female pop rock band and I was getting ready
that's
for
so
a
cool.
performance and my violinist was sick. So I had to get a new violinist as I'm sitting, as I'm auditioning new girls. In between those breaks, I was overhearing the conversation next to me.
I was having a meeting in the same cafe about franchising and expansion. It was a big private equity company. We were talking about royalties. We were talking about multi-store deals. There was a lot of big talk in the table.
Yeah.
She thought we were music executives. So she's a great networker. She strategically held her meetings in an area that was near Sony Records and all that. And she always in and out of auditions.
Yeah.
So she thought we were record executives. It was me and the COO of my company. So when our meeting was over, she politely said, "Hey guys, are you guys in the music industry? I'm a singer." I leaped over my friend. I said, "Yes, we are." She could have asked me if I was a cardiologist. I would have said, "Yeah." So then, so we were talking. I was in the industry. I had
He already formed
Lolli Brands Entertainment a year before.
Yeah.
Because
So he kind of was in the
yeah, I was working with a lot of artists. I was funding a lot of movies. I was working with Spike and a bunch of other people. They would use my home in movies and short films, my cars. And I was also renting them selling them luxury real estate. So I formed that entity. I said, maybe something in this industry. You know, I want to have a place I can collect royalties from all the movies I'm producing. And so when I said that, coincidentally, she said, I'm actually looking for a location to have my music video, which my home was used in many music videos. So I said, sure. And she went the next day. My mother had her own suite in the house. I wasn't there. So I didn't, you know, I'm sure she thought at the time, I don't know, was this guy want me to come to his house?
Well,
I wasn't there. You never know.
You know, sure. So, but I went. I told a bunch of my friends, I'm going to this address if you don't hear from me.
Yeah.
In 30 minutes
That's
call.
what I always do with my sister. I'm like, put my location on. Here's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, you know, my mother-in-law now opened the door and was like, oh, sure, baby, sure, come.
Yeah.
She's the sweetest, you know. So I saw the location, immediately fell in love, and I contacted him. I said, absolutely, I'd love to work with you. And he said, oh, I'd be an executive producer on that too. So he also introduced me to the videographer, and we kind of were very much friendly.
Platonic for 3 months. It was friendship, and it was really mentor-mentee.
Yeah.
For the first time, I met somebody that was interested in learning at the pace that I educate people. Because I owned a big real estate company, I started throwing her all the real estate training I was doing, but I was also big into documentaries. And so she took an interest in documentaries that I was interested in. The documentary of Vera Wang, the documentary of of Dave Thomas of Wendy's, of the Home Depot founders.
No, he sends me an email with 500 links.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, I'd love to share my experience with you. Are you interested? I'm like, I like love it. You know, I was hungry for a mentor too.
Yes.
And every single link was, you know, either a documentary or a big YouTube video or an article. So I decided to treat this as a college. You know, I'm big on studying. Like, I came from the background, like my father is a math professor, my mother is a math professor. So I took it upon myself to use all my spare time to watch everything and write him reports.
She gave me reports, like book reports. She gave me documentary reports.
That means a lot, though. Because
Yeah.
it's like, you know, look, somebody's really taking me on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing
And
better than
that
the mentor.
connected us.
It was. And so it was that way. It was very platonic. And then, you know, after a while, I mean, I'm the one I think really started saying maybe there's something here.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to disrespect the friendship. So I looked in my Rolodex. I had only one Armenian friend, and she happened to be in real estate. And she happened to be doing a concert in Central Park for an Armenian like type of deal. So I said, why don't you come and maybe have a private talk with her, feel her out. Maybe she likes me. I just don't want to break that trust. And So, we hung out that night, and I said, "Oh, when we go to dinner after the concert, I chose a place that was a steakhouse that turns into to a nightclub
Cool.
after 10."
Yes.
So she strategically sat down. They became friends. They're Armenians. Armenians are very close. So she goes, "Oh, Anthony likes you." She goes, "I like him." No, she goes, "He likes you." She goes, "Oh, he never gave
But
me."
I liked him too.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna.
yeah. I just never gave her that impression. So
So what went through your mind and like the emotions when she said that to you?
I mean,
Did you have like an inkling that he liked you, or?
kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like he's investing time, he's
Yeah.
investing his mind and
Yeah.
soul, and he invited me to an espresso. Not a date, but it's like, yeah, let's catch up on all the mentoring. I want to see what you're learning. Because I have a few
A major
connections.
plan.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a few connections that can give you a hit single. Maybe I can make introductions, but I want to know where you're at first. So we had those meetings, and we were growing in, likability. So there was definitely this magnetic pull.
I
Yeah.
love that. What do you guys find so sexy and enticing about documentaries in particular?
Oh, because we're learning.
Mhm.
These are our journeys. Our documentary is very special because we call them not only edutaining, so they're
Oh, I like that.
educational, they're entertaining, but they're also experiential.
Mhm.
So whatever journey we're actually full-heartedly about to go in, we don't even learn about the journey before we start filming. We film as we're in it, learning with our audience,
Very cool.
which is why we're so relatable, which is why every single documentary has become a massive hit. Because we ask questions that an average person would ask, and we bring them into these bubbles of worlds that we obsess over. Because if we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it to perfection, to excellence, and the audience just watches us go from zero to hero, literally within a documentary.
Fantastic.
Do you guys follow that journey, that hero's journey in the documentaries? Like, do you think about that?
in the case of From Fat Lolli to Six Pack Lolli, that was one of our first big public hits. We released it during the pandemic. I was 315 pounds. I had it all,
how
but I
tall
didn't
are
have
you?
my health. 5'8".
Yeah, get out.
So it was a lot.
Guys, he ain't 5'8".
You got
I'm
you.
taller than him. I think I'm 5'6" and 3/4.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Okay, so he might be 5'8".
I got to remeasure.
He's got some hair.
So in that documentary, I lost 125 pounds. I hired a coach. I went through a loose skin surgery, and then I became a transformation bodybuilding champion.
Slow down
all
for a
on
second.
camera.
I want to know about this for a second, because there had to be a catalytic moment where you realized, like, dude, I'm out of shape. Like, because I was in a gym one time with my buddies. This is back in 2006. And we all went in there, and I thought I was still in my shape from football, and I was going to do pull-ups. And I could barely do a pull-up. And I was like 240 pounds, and I was so embarrassed in front of them. So that was my catalytic moment. It changed, right? What was for you?
Well,
Many.
look, there was so many interventions that Teresa, my mom, her mom, they did with me. I got fed up in 2015. I wanted to silence everyone, and I did the gastric sleeve in 2015. I lost 50 pounds and I gained 70. So I was like, it's very difficult to stretch your stomach back, but I did. So I ate again and got fat. And then I told her,
why yet at that time.
right. I
It's
didn't
just
have my
doing
why.
it to please us.
Right.
Were you partying, besides eating, were you partying and stuff like that too?
A
Drinking?
lot of business dinners, steaks.
Drinking.
On a CEO level, you could have 3 business dinners in one night.
yeah.
This meeting, that meeting, this one. And then you're having Jack and Cokes and Gentleman's Jack and whiskey and all those kind of things. So those things are incorporated.
Now we're actually finding out he has an obesity gene,
Right.
actually. So
Right.
Interesting.
and his lifestyle growing up, they were very bohemian. Like his father was very just free thinker. He had no curfew, no bedtime. This kid would go to sleep at 12 o'clock at night. They were doing photo with a parrot. This was a young hustle, right?
Yeah.
So he would be eating mac and cheese in the middle of midnight. So it was a lifestyle thing. And he became a picky eater. His mom tried hard, but it just never worked, right? So he said, I'm going to own this body and I'm going to love this body the way it is. I'm going to pour all of my intelligence into work and business excellence. And so he has tried to lose weight about 8 times before we met. And every time, not only did he fail, but he actually gained more weight. So he was inching his way to morbid obesity, which was actually going to cost him his life.
Yep.
And it wasn't until we had our son, Legend, and I was totally okay with that. In fact, when we started dating, I actually took him to a slew of testing because I wanted to know where his vitamins are, where his levels are. We did a bone density test, I remember, and he almost broke the machine. They're like, his bones are so dense, like the machine can't read it.
Yeah.
So everything was perfect in his health. So now you're understanding this man is so brilliant that with his mind, he's a Joe Dispenza of his own, right?
Yes. He's my ultimate. He's
Right.
everything.
And so he was controlling his health.
Yeah.
somebody else with 300 pounds would think and manifest disease. He wasn't that person. However, it came close to having the kids and him being a role model that hit him hard in the heart. And then it was our son that had a mold infection at the time, which I went into this whole journey to discover, but I was up all night nursing him, putting him to sleep. And it was through those nights when I would listen to him snore, stop breathing. And it was a foreign concept for me. Figured out it was a sleep apnea. Very bad. It was terrifying to me. I have a crying, screaming kid. My husband stops breathing. I thought
can't sleep.
it was over. I'm a zombie.
Yeah.
The only normal was our daughter who just sleeps. She loves sleeping.
Did you have to get on CPAP?
Almost. I went to the hospital many times over it, and it was just really bad. My mom was like, "Why are you doing that to your family? You know, it's not good." And then it wasn't until the kids and my wife and we love you. We don't want you to die, and that was it. I made that decision, and then it was a culmination of a lot of things because we're in the entertainment industry. We were getting booked often. We, meaning my wife and the kids. Another man had to play the father. I was too fat to play my own father's kid in commercials. Stroller.
This guy has the biggest pride. So touch his pride and done. I'll lose the weight.
So I was the one doing BTS pics of my family with a stand-in dad. So, you know, all those things really were like aha moments. And I was like, I got to make a change. And so I decided to do what I know how to do best whenever I'm tackling a business. I treated my body like a business venture. I hired the right architect. In this case, it's called a fitness coach and a diet coach and a mind coach. And so coaching is very important no matter what venture you're going to get in.
It was the most instrumental thing for his success to find the word transformation versus weight loss. When he was focused on weight loss, he was counting calories, counting pounds. With transformation, we actually made a manifestation image where we photoshopped his head on a perfect body. That was the goal. And we printed it out. We put it all over the house. So that was what, on the hardest days, he would just look at that picture and he would just keep going.
Having a family behind you too.
Yeah.
Really.
That was key.
On the hardest days, or people that are going through it right now, they don't have the luxury of hiring all these people.
Right.
What would you tell them, or how can they push through and not get pulled back into their old ways?
Well, I think hiring a remote coach is not as expensive as you think.
Okay.
You know, I've competed now together. We've competed 32 times. And most of the people that we meet backstage are single moms or, you know, regular dads that, you know, maybe are mailmen or whatever. They're not millionaires. And there's online coaches, there's online coaching programs. Where there's a will, there's a way.
And we found the power of coaching when we were filming our second docu-series called Super Lollies, where Amazon, you know, we saw the success of our Amazon documentary with Fat Lolli. We said, let's do something with female audience, right? And let's actually go and uncover this entire world of fitness competitions. There's 6 of them that are reputable. Let's go compete in all of them. And we actually strategically hired different coaches for each competition as they require different looks, different hardness, different softness.
Yeah.
So we understand that with your coach, you can literally change your look. And they're, like he said,
they're like $200 a month.
$200.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not that bad.
And a meal plan can change your entire perspective on diet, lifestyle forever. Like
we save money on meals.
Save money.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you're one thing about you know, doing the competitions, you see this vision of yourself in the mirror, and then when you're not in training mode, you put weight back on, right? You hydrate more and all that, and that can mess with your mind.
Some
right?
people say that. It depends.
Did it mess with you guys?
For me, no, because the former body was really bad.
Yeah.
So anything is better than that. And so I've learned to see my body, because we did all the extreme competitions, I've seen my body in many different stages. So bulking and being off season is a regular part. When you're really into that community, that's like normal. It's actually
when it's intentional. Of course it doesn't mess with your body. It's my plan. I'm doing this to myself. I know what I'm going to look like. I know these meal plans and these workout plans are going to get me to this look, and then I can reverse it to this look. So you are in total control over your body, over your fitness and meal plans.
Do you feel like it ever becomes an obsession? Because I do, you know, encounter people that like, oh my gosh, you know, macros, and it just takes over the enjoyment of their life.
Well, I think people that have addictions, right? It's a healthier addiction than maybe a bad food addiction, drug addiction. So there are extremists. And, you have to then work on something else. But at least you're out of the woods in terms of, being in the danger zone of being sick from
we
being
had
fat.
to transition from being obsessive and competing for 2 years and being on 8% body fat, 9% body fat for such an extended amount of time and really being obsessive because you're competing and filming, to then saying, okay, this is going to be about my lifestyle. That was a new way of life. So we said, okay, so now we're switching it to this. Everything we do is very intentional. We're like, oh, okay, switch.
Yeah.
Then we say, okay, this is how we're going to live our lives. We're going to have days when we just enjoy restaurant meals. And when we're in restaurants, we're going to order, let's say, I get my side of broccoli with olive oil, for example. I'm still enjoying my life.
Yeah.
Right. So he's very intentional with his carb intake and protein intake. So it's important to always understand, this is where I am in my life. This is the choice I'm making. This is how I will architect my lifestyle.
But to your point, we recognize that the outside was not the most important thing, the inside. And so that was the journey into the biohacking. The Biohack Yourself documentary came from us realizing maybe the bodybuilding and the extreme on and off dieting is not the healthiest thing in the world. We ended up doing another bodybuilding documentary where we were meeting a lot of retired famous bodybuilders and interviewing them.
It's on Amazon Prime.
The Guru, where we interviewed 32, the owner of Mr. Olympia, a bunch of big stars, Dexter Jackson, all the big people. We have great friendships with them. But most of them are suffering from the results of extreme dieting. But most of them are recovering through longevity practices that we all call now biohacking.
Yeah.
So that piqued our curiosity. Plus we had issues with our children, mold toxicity, lymphatic issues. Teresa had a hormone imbalance from all the dieting and extreme exercise. So we kind of went through that journey publicly.
Well, because of our child's son, because of our son Legend, I was already looking into functional medicine, alternative medicine, and we were not taking diagnosis from the Western medicine, right? So we had a chance for about a year to go through all of the research and put the pieces of the puzzle together for his health. And I was already very much into that. So when we discovered, again, the world of biohacking, which is its own bubble, we looked at each other, we're like, this is another documentary. As we're going to jump into this world, we're going to not obsess over it, but we're going to find out everything. We're going to leave no stone unturned. So let's roll the cameras and we'll see what happens. And then what happened?
Here we are today, fast forward today.
So we can cover probably a couple hours on this next topic. So we'll get into this now. So this podcast and the brand That One is about standing out and creating an experience for people and just not blending in, right? In business, if you stand out, it's very uncomfortable. It's scary for a lot of people. And that's why most people don't do it. You guys have stood out. And we talk about creating an experience. You and I have had conversations about this, but you've just recently produced the Maha Ball.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You got a notice last minute and still got done. And we saw it. It was amazing. And then you've gotten tons of the biggest names, people in your documentaries.
Yeah.
You've had the hip hop stars, like you said, when you first started back in the day.
Yes.
At your house, using your house. I could go all the way back to the real estate. You probably had some of the top producers wanting to come work with you.
Yeah.
But it's all about because you stood out and you became that one.
Yes.
Talk about how, first of all, where did you start to realize, I got to create an experience and be different, not blend in just like any other real estate agent, for example.
The word extraordinary just means you do the ordinary extra. You know what I mean? And most people, they don't want to go all out and they don't want to go the extra mile. They don't keep their word. It's in this landscape right now. You can win just simply by doing what you say you're going to do and doing a little extra. You can win by responding to that text message a little bit faster, responding to that DM, keeping your promises,
showing up,
but showing up right, putting thought. What are you wearing? What are you saying? How are you texting? What's your energy like? All those things. What does your house look like? You know what I mean? Are you clean? Is your house clean? All that, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. You talked about a messy car, not having, all those type of things are important.
Yes.
So it's that one thing in everything.
You said that one?
That's right.
That one.
That one thing in everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what's that one thing in your house, in your bedroom, the bed? What's that one thing in your bathroom, your hygiene? One thing in your food, It's that one thing in everything you do. When you have that mindset, then you're unstoppable because we're all energetic. beings. You mentioned Joe Dispenza. We talk
yes.
about the quantum, all energy fields.
I meditate. That's one. I meditate 20 minutes no matter what, where I am, what I'm doing. And I do his meditations.
Right.
Changed my life.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's a phrase I use all the time. I learned from my mentor: living demonstration.
Yeah.
Being a living demonstration. Now, if you're religious, I'm an unapologetic believer in God. I'm never going to be perfect, but like all my thoughts, words, actions, and the people I keep around me, we talked about that earlier too, have to be in alignment with the demonstration that I want to be putting out there.
Yes.
And that's what you're describing.
Yes.
So being a living demonstration. Do you want to comment on being that one and
Yeah, it's
creating
funny.
experience?
As we worked with 114 people in Biohack Yourself documentary and now 80 people, castmates in SHIELD, we met the ones, many of those ones, right? That just stand out, that just are, the lights for people. It's all about adding value to humanity. It's always about doing something that's outside of you, right? Why did the documentary become successful was because he was trying to inspire all the other obese people, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't just keeping it to himself. Same way we do all of our projects in a way where it needs to have a bigger purpose. To me, I'm very much the purpose-driven person. I'm the soul of all of our projects. He brings the side of the business and the marketing, which you need.
Right.
So I feel like also becoming the one, you need the right team, the right mentors, the right coaches, and that really can set you apart when you have the right mission.
You mentioned God, right? And Jesus, like Jesus was one of the biggest, marketers. He traveled with 12 videographers. He called them apostles. He was the biggest publicity stunts, turning water into wine. So it's that one, he was that one, you know what I mean? And he also understood the power of amplification, the power of having a voice, the power of having people witness what you're saying.
Yep.
Very important.
Yep.
With the Andrew Tates of today and all these people, we
Why did you
all
say it
over
like
the
that?
place.
Like Andrew
Well,
Tates?
because I see
was
this
just curious.
beautiful relationship. And can you speak to the importance of having a solid woman and a solid man
Oh, I got you. I
by your
understand that.
side? Because some,
I understand
these
now.
days, some young men are instructed to have a slew,
I agree.
your success is measured by this, when I think it's quite the opposite. And to
Yeah.
really elevate your life,
Yeah.
you need a real one.
Yeah, I think, relationships are based on a lot on what your background is and what you're used to and what you're expecting. For certain people, if they haven't been able to tackle some of their childhood demons that have happened, trauma, they may not be ready. And so if relationships don't work out, it's because believe that God is protecting that other person from you. You may think
huge,
you're not fighting the one, but you need to fix yourself first before God is going to allow a good person into your life. So if you're really not matching and it's not working out, there's something wrong with you. You want to be a person of high value that someone wants to be with. So I think the first thing you look at is, am I a person that the person I'm looking to attract would want to be attracted to?
Yeah. I mean, we all as human beings, we want to live a life and have a witness to that life, right?
Yeah.
Share our lives with someone. So that's the basis of the marriage.
Mhm.
And when you have that marriage, protecting it is at utmost importance, right? So communication, open communication, aligned goals has been huge for us. I mean, when we first met, he had his business, I had my thing, right? So there was a lot of time we spent apart, and that was just not going to work out for somebody like us.
Right.
We're very, very family oriented. So again, understanding what do you want from this life, and how he said what you're used to, what you're expecting. It's really important to get married when you know who you are, what you want exactly, and then align that with your partner.
And your children see that, they always say the greatest gift you can give your children is how you love their mother. And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talked about being extraordinary, but also there's something that we had a conversation before we started recording about investing in yourself,
Right.
putting money to things to elevate yourself, and even doing it sometimes before you feel like you're ready.
That's right.
When did you start doing that?
Oh, almost immediately. When I bought my first property at 21, I had to really say, what message am I telling my customers when they walk in through the door? I do this thing on Instagram where I do bathroom reviews. It's probably one of the biggest I get. I have a lot of followers, but that one there gets like every view on my stories is like 250,000 views. It's mostly business owners and restaurant owners too. I come review my bathroom, kind of like what Dave Portnoy does with
I was
pizza.
just gonna say
I do it with bathrooms.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And so I do bathroom reviews.
Wait a minute. Before you talk, how did you come up with that idea, first of all?
I've been doing it my whole life. When I go into bathrooms, I go into business bathrooms, business owners, and I say to myself, the bathroom is a reflection of whether or not the business owner thought they were going to make it. Because they're like, oh, the office is nice, this, that, but the bathroom, whatever. But the bathroom is where every customer goes to.
Yeah.
Especially in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I could see whether you thought you were going to fail or not based on the extra mile that you didn't go into the bathroom.
What is the rating system? Is it 5 stars? Would go here again?
Well,
or
I don't. I should start rating it, but I asked the public. I asked them, "What do you think about this bathroom?" I get a lot of DMs and feedback and stuff, and I value my audience's opinion, and I engage them, and I care.
Yeah.
So, and now Teresa does it, my kids do it. So it's awesome because you really can tell a really nice restaurant, this, that, and the bathroom looks like junk.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, this with Trump, like all his properties, he's like meticulous with.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, he's a pain in the, whatever. And no, this is the standard that we're setting.
That's right.
And then it basically sends a message not to your clients or customers, but your employees. People don't put enough emphasis on the standard you set for your employees and promoting out to the public for your employees so they can be proud of where they come to work and what they're a part of.
Absolutely. On set, when we produce films, we usually have like 40, 50 people on set. You've seen them when you've come to our set. We have a standard of excellence. We have pre-shift meetings that you would have in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And we
call
tell them
customers experience.
Right.
Customer experience personnel.
Right.
Even though you're a videographer, you're a photographer, but you're all customer experience people.
Yeah.
And I said, we're dealing with a lot of founders and CEOs. So CEO eyes are going to be looking at you. And I said, just imagine you're in a restaurant and you see that person, the server, making out with a girl on the corner or picking his nose or on the cell phone. It's a poor reflection on poor leadership.
Yeah.
Imagine what the food is like. So it's the same thing on set. The energy has to be there, greet everyone. I don't care if you're a gaffer or just holding the camera. Hello to everyone.
Everybody was great, by the way.
Right.
I've gone 2 days now to the set of S.H.I.E.L.D. documentary, and I was impressed. Like, you go to a set, it's like there's a lot of chaos going on, all kinds of things, but people were stopping and recognizing you and paying attention. So great job.
And everyone's branded, so you know who's on the team. You know who's a part of the thing. And
that's all a part of pre-production.
Right.
Yeah.
We take pre-production way more serious than any aspect of production.
Right.
Right.
And so that, I think, is a one thing that you can focus on.
Yeah.
I love that. So for people that are new to biohacking, how would you explain it in simple terms?
Simple terms, our environment is hacking us now, as we're all aware, dirty air, dirty water, dirty food. So we need to use some of these new technologies to really bring back homeostasis into our body, which is basically the harmony with the earth. So, for example, you're always in the office, you are wearing rubber sole shoes, and you're not really out there grounding, right? There's grounding mats. They're called PEMF mats. So that's on a uprise right now, very popular item. Red light. We're not getting the red light from the sunlight. So we're basically incorporating tools and techniques to kind of replace the nature and the connection with the earth to bring our bodies back to nature.
Do the grounding sheets work? Because my wife put a grounding sheet on our bed.
Yes, they do.
And I feel like there's a difference, but it might be just
Sleeping biohacks are the best because you can stack it.
Yeah.
You can do like, bioharmonic therapy when you go to sleep, tune your body based on a megahertz.
The real grounding sheets I would suggest is to get something like Cellar 8, for example. That's a company that has this device, handheld, very compact. You can put it under your pillow, and it's literally grounding you throughout the whole night. Right. And what it does is your cells can clump up together. Have you ever done that blood test where you prick your finger and then you see it on a microscope?
No, I haven't.
You should, because that really shows you your blood cell health. Right? There's some blood cells that are just distorted, and then there's some cells that are clamped up. That is super unhealthy. There's not a lot of circulation happening. What happens with the pulsed electromagnetic field is it opens up your cells. Can you imagine with magnetic field? So now your cellular health is there
Mhm.
to then propel health, overall longevity in your body on its own.
Yeah, and red light. I don't know if you use red light
Yeah.
at all, but I mean, we have a pad at home. It's amazing.
I need to do it more.
And
yeah.
my son twisted his ankle the other day playing basketball. No ice. We didn't put ice on it. We did this because we used to tape and ice. That's what when we played football. It's tape and ice. But we used the red light on him. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it.
healed up. No
Yeah.
swelling anymore. Like no bruising. It's amazing.
Yep.
We're at
Like,
the
just
best
crazy.
time of our lives right
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
humanity. Yes, there's more disease. Yes, there's more obstacles to living longer and being healthier. But what's happening right now, the technological boom in biohacking space is incredible. We're excited and
We're
giddy every day.
excited. Yeah.
But
This
it's
is why
blowing your mind.
Well,
blowing
you
our
know,
mind, yeah.
we incorporated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the documentary Biohack Yourself, and the CEO of Maha, Del Bigtree, is in Shield. And so consequently, we were asked to produce the Maha Ball, where we invited many people from the Biohack Yourself and the Shield documentary to attend, because the new administration is open to, really healing America and making it healthy again,
Yeah.
using any and all methods that were formerly shadow banned.
So
Talk
we
about
created
timing.
biohackyourself.com website, right? Because there's so many new things coming on daily, on monthly, so that we can cover breakout products.
And he looks amazing. Just the other day, he was just on the news, and I wasn't even. I was like, "Oh my gosh, how old is he?"
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing pull-ups and
Yeah.
hanging out with
Oh.
these young guys. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Wow."
Yeah.
Talk about timing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
perfect.
all about
For
time.
what you guys are doing too. Like you told me the other day about, being ahead of the game on things and just watching trends.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
did you see this coming?
Well, when we had Bobby in Biohack Yourself, he was running for president at that
Mhm.
time, and we were supporting what he was doing. From mutual friends that introduced us to him were also big advocates. And the timing, of him joining Donald Trump was unexpected. No one expected it. When you watch Shield, you hear Del Bigtree talk about
But
that.
you put yourself in that position though. Like you did the work to be lucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Would you
think
say?
it was almost preordained. My
Yeah.
wife was really instrumental in bringing. She jokes around. She says, "I was Maha 5 years ago. Anthony, it was make Anthony healthy again." Yeah. And so it was really
We
that.
didn't plan it, actually. It wasn't
No.
planned. We were going to do this no matter what, no matter
Right.
which side won, because everybody can benefit from a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
red light. So we
Sure.
were doing it as regular people that are kids in a candy shop. We discovered this world. Hey, come on a journey with us.
And you did it too so you can't get shadow banned because you're not relying on social media.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Do you have your
Oh yeah, are you guys ready?
I'm
All right,
ready.
we like
Go
to have a
for
little
it.
fun at the end.
Okay.
This is Kinz Quickies.
So feel free. We want to know, when is the last time that you laughed so hard you cried, like a good old belly laugh?
Okay,
When's the
good old
last time?
belly laugh. When we
Yes.
got into the red light bed with love, and then our mitochondria was so charged, we got out of the bed and we were just laughing out loud.
Love is our
to
daughter.
tears. Yeah,
Yeah.
our daughter Love.
Do you have Love and Legend?
Love and Legend.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that setting.
Legend
Love
boy. Legend boy.
Legend boy.
That,
Yeah.
nice attention.
That's incredible.
I told him I'm not calling you that, bro.
Okay, so you guys are so healthy, but when is the last time you ate so much you were like you had to put on stretchy pants, or do you not do that anymore?
No, we pig out every
Yeah.
now and then.
The cheat day.
We go to Brazilian steakhouse.
we go to Brazilian
that's your
steakhouses a
jam.
lot.
That's your
Yeah.
jam.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
We do eat out
unlimited.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. When is the last time you said I love you?
Oh, we say it all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, every night
Last
and the
night?
day. Yeah, last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. When is the last time that you guys did something for the very first time? Something
Ooh.
new and exciting.
During
Ball.
the Maha
When
Ball
we
was the
first
first
started.
one. That
When
was, we
picked up
stepped
little
on
bit of
stage and spoke in front of the new world health leaders.
Yeah.
We stood on stage and held our hands up high in the Maha symbol, because the Maha symbol is a mom and a dad and 2 kids.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
that thing hit like the news and the media.
And your daughter spoke.
And
at
my
the ball.
daughter spoke,
Both
and our
of them
son
spoke,
spoke.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, she's 8.
Yeah, she told
Both
me.
of
She
them
came up and told me. I spoke on the Maha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I saw that.
That was the first.
I
You know,
love
we
that.
greeted every single person coming into the ball.
Well, our
She
kids are
wore a-
determined to
Yeah.
actually build the next generation of health advocates. And she's like, why can't we be our own health advocates from this young age? I'm like, you go, girl.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
is
like the
so
little
cool.
minions, like, I said
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
I was going to say, watching you guys as children, what's something that they have done or said to you that you just thought, oh my gosh, like we're really doing something right here?
Mm. You know, they say so many things about
Daily.
health advocacy with regards to other kids. You know, they come across other kids, are like, why does the mom let them eat that? Don't they know that this is bad for them? And, we've had to talk to them and say, not every mom knows that, their circumstances are
I
different.
was on the phone, frustrated at somebody, and Love came. I was like, Mom, your cortisol.
Yeah.
Funny.
That is wild.
She's like, calm down, your cortisol.
And when is the last time you were left speechless?
Ooh, the kids always put us in a speechless situation,
They delivered their speech, right?
That was speechless. And then we have them in debate class now. They have a private debate coach.
Wow.
So it's interesting to watch our son advocate for certain things that, we give him in doses. Like maybe we don't allow screen time, but when we do, he advocates for it, and he has good
Debate.
Foundational reasons.
Always speechless.
I'm speechless. I'm like, how'd you think about that one to convince Mom?
Circles around.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Insane.
We can talk to them all day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're up against the clock. I want to thank you guys. You guys are that 100%. You already know that, but
Thank you.
don't need my validation.
Likewise. Thank you.
You got my approval. I'm a fan,
Thank you.
friend, and I really appreciate you guys. And, the thing about relationships is you give. And one of the things when I met Teresa and she introduced me to you, I was like, who can I connect them with? That's what ran through my mind first.
Yeah.
You guys are the same way. And it's just symbiotic. It's just great. And I just can't wait to see what happens with all of us. And Jed here at Evotion Studios too. Shout out to Jed.
Jed. He's
And,
amazing.
Thank you for your time. You want to send anybody, obviously, biohackyourself.com.
Biohackyourself.com. They can go to lollibrands.com.
And our Instagram is really up to date.
Yeah.
Biohack Yourself Media.
Yeah.
Where we actually report on the latest, greatest.
Everything.
We're excited to see what
Yeah.
our reporters are bringing us, right? We're like, what?
It's nuts. I'm a fan of our own news Instagram because I'm like, what they put on next. So that's really where you're going to get a lot of info.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Appreciate
everything. Guys, we're wrapping up here. That one podcast, your boy C-Roc and Kinz with the Lollies. Go check them out. And until next time, be that one.
Absolutely. On set, when we produce films, we usually have like 40, 50 people on set. You've seen them when you've come to our set. We have a standard of excellence. We have pre-shift meetings with a girl on the corner or picking his nose or on the cell phone. So poor reflection of poor leadership. Imagine what the food is. So it's the same thing on the set.